that stretch of road on the 14th Street is the first road in America that can wirelessly charge electric vehicles while they're moving.
Well, essentially, you have to have a receiver on your electric vehicle, and then you essentially just drive over the roads. These white dots represent the charging coils. So when you're driving over this white dot, you will be charging. And as Damon mentioned, this could be the future of our roads across the country.
Bitcoin is the most exciting asset in financial markets because of what you just described. It's this highly complex thing that everyone's trying to figure out. And I think for some people, it is a risk-on asset. And for other people, it is a hedge against inflation or a store of value. And so if we just look at
Can it be both?
Of course, it can be different things to different people. Right now, I think one of the most interesting parts about this is if you go and you talk to someone on Wall Street, why are they buying it? They're buying it because they want the price exposure via the ETFs. But if you go and you talk to someone maybe in a country where they actually are worried about somebody seizing their assets, they're buying Bitcoin because they literally want to make sure that they can hold on to the economic value. And so you have an asset that this is not unique just to Bitcoin in the sense of some assets serve different purposes for different people. I think Bitcoin, because of its global nature, because of the decentralization, and because it was adopted by individuals before the institutions, we're just seeing it kind of exaggerated as we watch the asset become adopted. Now, we just hit a really important milestone before the halving. We just had the highest weekly, monthly, and quarterly close for Bitcoin.
Right.
And so the last 4 times that that's happened, Bitcoin has appreciated at least 300% through the rest of the bull market. Right. Doesn't mean it's going to happen again, but to have that happen before the halving, it's kind of like the demand shock happened. Now we're going to have the supply shock. Right. And so it's hard just to see how the price doesn't continue to go up.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you join the Patreons. If you're not a part of the Patreons, make sure you're hitting the cash out. And we have the Bitcoin halving days away. And Bitcoin is going to get a lot of attention in the mainstream media. Now, when we look at the price movements in Bitcoin and crypto, guys, we know it's not the retail investor. These are the hedge fund guys. These are the institutions that's moving us $10, $20, $30, $40,000. The average investor globally, the retail investor, is buying Bitcoin, crypto, and gold in order to help fight some of this inflation. Now, we know the masses always coming into Bitcoin and crypto or any asset when it has already took off. They're just in it to make a couple dollars, not taking the time to understand the technology. If they understood the technology, or even if you're looking at stocks, if you understand their mission, if you understand the NWO's plan, then you can buy and hodl. Yes, you sell as it's going up to take a little profit, but majority of it you're going to hodl because you know the mission. 99% of people are not going to know about the 4th Industrial Revolution, even though it's right in front of their face. The safest place to hide something is right in front of you. And we see the 4th Industrial Revolution being built right in front of the sheep's eyes, where the robots, algorithms, and drones take the economy over, pay each other with crypto, and the sheep go inside the metaverse. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And then, guys, we have the Fed, and we know we get more reports this month. But all the reports that have come out, inflation hasn't went anywhere. But we know we keep hearing those drums are beating, and there's definitely a crisis coming. So therefore, they can cut rates. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows. When it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
I think it depends on what country you go look at, and I'll give you kind of 2 examples, one that supports yours and one that will contradict it. If you go to somewhere like Nigeria, it's definitely true that people are buying Bitcoin, and I don't know why it's happening in Nigeria and not in South Africa, but we see that. Then if you go somewhere like Argentina, there are some people buying Bitcoin, but there's a lot of people who want dollar-backed stable coins, and they actually want the dollar, not Bitcoin. And so I think country by country, you're going to see different adoption of these technologies. Now, what I will say, though, is you don't have to go to emerging markets to find a reason why people want to buy this, right? If you look at the United States dollar, it's lost 25% of its purchasing power since 2020. Bitcoin is up 800% during that same time period. And so if we go back to 2020, if you remember, Paul Tudor Jones, Stanley Druckenmiller, many of these people came out and said, look, I think it's an inflation hedge. Now, hedges are always this weird thing where people expect you buy it and then inflation explodes the next day. But instead what we've seen is that Bitcoin is a free market asset that trades forward looking. And so Bitcoin's rise, it's up. We have 7 straight months of Bitcoin in the green up till this past month. And so why is it going up?
And
some of it is the ETFs. Well, inflation is coming down year over year, but it's actually, but inflation is actually going up month over month.
It's anticipating the next easing cycle. That's what it's anticipating.
So you could argue, one, it is anticipating the next easing cycle. You could also argue the alarm bell is going off, and actually inflation is not coming down month over month. It's going up, and people see that, and they're buying Bitcoin. And so Bitcoin going up is telling us, wait a second, inflation is a bigger problem than we actually thought.
During the hiking cycle, it went from 65,000 down to 17,000.
Correct.
You don't think the majority of people that are buying the ETF today or even buying underlying Bitcoin are doing it because they think the train is leaving the station and they want to be on the train? And that's what this is about.
Why would they have thought the train's leaving the station at 25,000?
Well, I think unfortunately what happens, as you know, is people like to get on the train once the train has practically left the station. That's how this is.
It went to 17,000. Why would people, when it's dropped from 65, when you were looking at it from 7,
right?
You know. And why would anyone buy this after?
I think there was a lot of people who were very nervous about it after FTX and the collapse.
That's what I mean. So why? Right. What do you mean they're getting on the train when the train is turned around? And
I think they see the toilet? No, I'm saying that I think that now they see the ETF. They see it moving back. They think, okay, now
25 to 40, I think was speculation on the ETF was going to get approved. 40 to 70 is definitely the ETF flows are here. But I think again, going back to where we started the conversation, is this is a highly complex environment where Bitcoin is serving different purposes to different people, and one that makes it attractive to a lot of folks.
But I guess what I'm saying is it may serve different purposes to different people. But if you told me that 90% of the people were in my mind, this is my own thesis. I think 80 to 90% of the folks who are buying this thing are buying it because it's a risk on, the train is leaving, or I think the train's leaving, and I want to get in on the action. And that there's another 10 or maybe 20%, maybe, who have this sort of inflation hedge idea that around their own exposure to their own currency.
Look,
I don't think it's a 50-50 thing. I don't think it's a. You see what I'm saying?
What you're calling out is just a societal trend, right? We've become a society of gamblers. If you think about it, we have zero-day options. Now we're more than 50% of options trading. We have sports betting, right? We have meme coins trading like 1980s boiler room, penny stocks. This is all happening. And so, again, why is that occurring? The dollar has lost 25% of its purchasing power in 4 years. We have $1.1 trillion of credit card debt. We have 43 million Americans that have federal student debt. The average balance is $37,000. People have lost hope. They do not have hope. How are you supposed to live in a country where it is cheaper to rent than buy a home in 50 major metros? You don't have hope, and so what do?
You think this is a lottery ticket? This is a gamble.
I think that if you go when you buy a lottery ticket, it's 300 million to 1 odds. I think there's people right now saying, you know what, a meme coin has better odds than a lottery ticket. I think there's a lot of people who say
pick your asset. If you want to pick your asset for the greater fool theory, is NVIDIA. People, trains leaving the station. They got to get on it.
I don't disagree.
Pick your meme stock. Pick your. Your commodity, cocoa, pick whatever you want. I mean, there's no doubt that when there's liquidity everywhere, that it's going to chase assets and things. But I don't think that because that's one of the reasons it goes higher doesn't undercut the fundamental case for that asset. That you have to on a case by case basis.
That is the fundamental question, and we don't. And only
I
5, 10, 20 years now we'll know the answer.
I think there are people that do understand it that don't have that question about the fundamental underlying.
There are people who have certainty. Whether they should or not is a question.
Another key piece is Bitcoin is a decentralized organization that has no marketing team, right? And so price is the marketing of Bitcoin. When the price goes up, speculators come in. Right. But what ends up happening is when we get those drawdowns, some of them stick around and become kind of Bitcoin believers. Some of them do leave.
I mean, Netflix is a great asset. It's either worth $800 or $170. You get the train leaving the station, and it's up to $800. If you get the train comes back to the station, it's $180.
But on the other hand, I respect what the Fed's been doing. They've been signaling that maybe they're getting ready to cut, but then when the data come in stronger, then they've responded to the data. And that's what a responsible Fed should do. The thing that bothers me is with all the strength we've seen, right? The last 2 quarters averaged, 3.5%, 4% GDP growth, inflation. If you take the last 3 months and annualize it, running about 4%. All that stuff suggests the Fed needs to be, pretty aggressive about saying, "Hey guys, we're not there yet." And yet, market futures are pricing in a cut in June, and I think that's kind of a communication error. I don't think the data are going to allow them to do that. And I think that's the one thing I disagree with what Jay Powell's been doing right now, is signaling that there might be cuts coming soon, because there's just nothing like that in the data to me.
Well, they're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And very much a traditionalist. I like staying with the dollar. You know that from when I was there. It's make the dollar the choice. I hate when countries go off the dollar. I would not allow countries to go off the dollar, because when we lose that standard, that will be like losing a revolutionary war. That will be a hit to our country, just like losing a war. And we can't let that happen. And too many countries now are fighting to get off the dollar. And
Crypto Teacher and the new World Order book Plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, if new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance, do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Drama Team save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Drama Team save New York from COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Drama Team goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.